taken care of. And we are good. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is April 28th. This is the April 28th Text Quest Devstream. So, today we're going to be continuing our work on tooling for timelines. Specifically, we're going to be doing tooling that will help me improve our wizard cutscene in the castle and a couple of combat cutscenes that I have later on as well, actually. Uh, the first thing that we're going to start with today is we're going to be working with some iTween stuff. iTween is a free tweening library that has been around in Unity for eons. I'm at least as far back as 2013-ish, I want to say. It probably has been around longer than that, honestly, but that's about as far back as I can remember it. But we're going to be messing with some of that today, specifically the pathing tweening. So just kind of lerping along a spline. And from that, we're going to mess a little bit with particle effects, which I believe I already have a timeline track for particle effects. Although I do need to set up some of this still. Let's create. I love how playables are so far away from timeline. Here. Let's go ahead and we're going to go over here to timeline. We're going to add a track group. I'm going to add, let's see, particle effects. Do I have something? Play sound, play cutscene, material. That's what's playable track. Set parent, transform. Did I put it under text quest? Play particle system track. There we go. So you can see that we have particles that we can play here. So this probably one could be moved over to our non-text quest one. I feel like that could totally be a standard thing. Anyway, so we're going to basically be lerping a particle system along a spline because I think the best way for me to ensure that players can realize that something is going on in the castle throne room, regardless of if they're looking the right way, is to have effects lerp from the torches to the throne room, or to the throne, which I'm talking about, but I should just go ahead and show you what my plan is if I jump back over to the castle. So the castle throne room is basically a long room with a fresco up top, which is a cool aesthetic, but it actually is somewhat distracting because a lot of people tend to look at it. And it has this carpet in the middle that guides you down the center, and you have a bunch of torches on the sides. And what I think I would like to do is basically have. I could probably go ahead and just play this real quick, actually. Back up there. Hit play. So my approach here is going to be, instead of trying to force the player to look in the right direction, I'm just going to use as many visual cues as I can to say, hey, you want to be looking this way, and this way specifically. So, also to start, I guess we're going to be doing design and code work today, because we're kind of mixing those two. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump over here. So when you get into the throne room, you have all of this visual spectacle. You have a very large space. You have a very straight line to where you need to go. But obviously, because players are players and they like seeing all the random stuff that's going on, they like looking at the textures. It's very easy for people to get distracted, and a lot of people, more than a handful, have done this, where they walk backwards trying to read what this says. And when they do that, they don't necessarily notice. I'm going to trigger the cutscene, I think right about here-ish. Yeah. Like, they might not really notice that anything's happening. So what I would like to do is, instead of having all this stuff go on kind of behind this static wall that you might not even realize is there. When the wizard forms, I would like all of these torches to have little particle effects, like basically move those fire particles, have them move along splines to get to where the wizard forms, and then have the wizard appear. Because having them move like that will, one, reinforce where the player needs to look, and two, it will be a much more visually interesting thing than just having a static wall show up. We're still going to have the wall, of course, because we don't want the player to get too close, but by having those torches basically have their fire sucked out of them and follow a path, it will guide the player or the player's eye, and it will be much harder for them to not see that something is going on. The other thing that I want to change is a bit of a smaller change. Hello, I gotta see if I can say this name. The Betten Coordinator? Betten Coordinator. Is that correct? Either way, hello. Welcome to the TextQuest Devstream. How are you doing today? So one of the other small changes I want to make is currently all of these magic barriers show up at the same time. They basically just all fade in with that kind of like fade to white and then come back down to these colors. But what I would actually like to do is have a little bit of a staggered appearance. So instead of having them all appear at once, we'd have the door appear, fade to its white, and then back down, have the second windows here, so that one and that one appear, then the third windows appear, have them fade in, and then finally the last window. And basically those would just be done kind of with a staggered release, so we would have like 1, 2, 3, as they're all fading in. And that just, again, helps reinforce that something's happening in this general direction, because we have things starting over here and ending over in this direction. So that's something that we're not gonna necessarily set up tonight or today, but that is something that I want to change about that cutscene, having the magic barriers kind of staggered show up. Also, hello Gabby. Doing well. How am I? I am so. We'll see how we do, like always, on today's stream. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to my test scene. So what brings you to my corner of Twitch, my itty-bitty corner way off in the distance from the main area of Twitch? I always like to ask how people randomly stumbled across it. Usually it's they happen to be looking through dev channels and they just stop by randomly, but I always like to ask. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump to our iTween test. And I'm going to go ahead and look at our timeline. We can get rid of SOS playable track. I've added a Sleepy Owl Common Timeline iTween track. And this is it doesn't have any clips right now, but it's basically going to hold all of the iTween related timeline tracks that we create. So, Magic, Fate, Destiny. Also, thank you for the follow. But all three of those are quite excellent answers. Are you a developer yourself, or that's how I chose my college? Well, hey, if you've ever seen the tick, Destiny is the only answer you need, chum. Twitch categories. Are those actually Twitch categories, Magic, Fate, and Destiny? Because that's amazing. I've never actually looked at those. I also have no idea how I would have shown up on those. I'm pretty sure I don't have any of those tags. Developer, but you don't do it a lot. Still though. So you're more of a hobbyist. Alright, so I have this iTween path clip and an iTween path behavior. Gotta open these up. And this is going to be interesting because I have had iTween in my project probably for years, but I've never actually used it. And I've had it in other projects as well, but it's always been third-party assets using it, not so much my stuff. All right, these are the two scripts that we're going to be working on to start. And you can see that I kind of already have a rough comment here, because this is, from what I could tell, the basic way to get a tween working with a path, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Tween path clip. All right, so the clip is, excuse me, where our data is stored. No, I meant I found you through the science and technology category. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I probably should revisit how I'm categorized, because I know that they changed game development to the science and technology category, and you had to use tags to help people find you. It's been a whole mess, and I haven't been on top of that, honestly, keeping track of things. There's probably a better way to increase my search relevancy for things, but I believe right now game development is classified under science and technology, which is iffy, but technically correct, I suppose. In any case, we're going to go ahead and say serialized field. Tooltip is worthless on exposed variables. So we're going to say private exposed reference. And I'm going to try an iTween path. I'm kind of curious to know. Well, before we do iTween path, I guess, let's go ahead and say, I guess it's going to be a game object, which is kind of gross. Target. So this is going to be, well, nothing for now. And I will tooltip this for my own personal reference, even though it won't show up in the inspector, which is kind of dumb because exposed references do not freaking use tooltips for some reason. Oh well. So we're gonna go ahead and just say like the object to move along the path. Okay. We're gonna come back here real quick. Let's go ahead and say dot timeline. Okay. We're gonna come back over here and say dot timeline. All right. Copy this. Let's come back over to here. Set up our create playable lines. All right. Setting up our variables. And just real quick, I'm going to say iTween path. Path is equal to null. I want to see if there's a short way to say like path.move. Nope. Okay, so path does not, I'm guessing, contain any relevant information to actually move something, which kind of makes sense. All right. So we're going to get rid of this. And I suppose I could just reference a path. That would probably be easier. So let's go ahead and say serialized field. We'll tooltip again, even though it's not really going to show up. But it's useful for me to tooltip so I don't forget what I'm doing. Private exposed reference iTween path. Path is, again, can't say equal to anything. So this is the path to move the target along. All right, and we can get rid of this now. And I guess that's all we really need to start here, just for testing purposes. Can Despacito be classified as a fruit? I guess, if you really want to. Technically, anything could be classified as a fruit if you really want to. But usually songs aren't classified as fruit. Then again, unless you're thinking of something other than the song, that's always what comes to mind when I hear Despacito. Let's see here. So I think we're just going to be good with that. Let's go ahead and jump over to our behavior. And we're just going to say public game object target is equal to null. Public iTween path is equal to, path is equal to null. And so I think we're going to do this. Target path name. And for this, I believe we're going to want to say path name. I think that's what we want. Let's go ahead and say time is going to be playable dot get duration. Of course, that's a double. Cast that to a float. Okay, so this should basically move our object along the path based on the duration of our clip. And let's see, do I want to do anything else? Nah, I guess that's fine. Okay, so all we need to do here is say behavior.target is equal to, we're going to say null for now, and I need to say resolver. Hold on. Oh, fine, be that way. So we're just going to say graph.getResolver. I exposed property table, that's what it is. I exposed property table, resolver is equal to that. resolver dot resolve. Oh, right. Target dot resolve resolver. Then behavior dot path is equal to path dot resolve resolver. That's just all so that timeline can actually pass along our exposed variables. And I think that's all we need to do. So we can probably get rid of on-graph start and on-graph stop. I don't think we need any of this. I'm pretty sure that I don't want to manually move along the path, although that would be nice. Let's go ahead and do this. Oh, and something else I guess I can do real quick is, let's grab this tween type. I'm just going to say public. Oops, if I could spell public. Let's see. I've been trying to learn PHP, but I don't know if any ID or of any IDEs that use it. Does Visual Studio not? I would kind of be surprised, but it's been a while since I've used PHP. I haven't done that since college. And admittedly, most of the time I didn't really end up using PHP. It was kind of more of like a one-off thing. I recently learned the official reason there isn't Windows 9 is because 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, gotta love classic jokes. This is gonna be ease type is equal to, I guess we'll do ease in out sign. That's a pretty default one. So we'll go ahead and say ease type here. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and grab this, go up to here, paste this, paste that. Okay, and this is going to be private as well, and then behavior dot ease type is equal to ease type. New download of Visual Studio doesn't. Are you looking for something with like IntelliSense in the sense that it will do autocomplete? Because I can think like Notepad++, which I think might have rudimentary support for it. At the very least, I'm sure that Notepad++, I'm assuming you're working on Windows. Notepad++ would probably have syntax highlighting, but I don't know beyond that. I would be surprised if there is not just like an IDE that someone made specifically for Python. Yeah, it looks like there's a fair amount of things that you can use. It also looks like Visual Studio does have some Python tools that you can buy to help with Python development. Or not buy, can download to help with Python development. Although I've never used them, so I can't necessarily recommend specific ones. Let's see here. So I think we're pretty good to go here. Let's go ahead and let that all compile. Crud. I need to set up the track. It's track clip type of, why can't I spell? Itween path clip. Okay, go ahead and let that compile. What are you working on in Python, if you don't mind me asking? I always like to ask what people are working on, because I'm nosy like that. Let's see. All right, so that's done. Let's go ahead and add our itween path clip. Let's see here. So here, actually remove this. Let's set up our path to be. So we're just gonna say itween path. Path name, sure, can be new path one. And let's just go ahead and say size of 10 here. And It's all. Oh, it's not local space. Is it? Oh, gross. That's terrible. That's disgusting and sad. Okay. Yeah. So what's essentially happening here is iTween's positions for tweening are absolute, which is probably better in the long run, but it kind of sucks for local movement. Ugh. So this is going to be negative, not negative 12, sorry, it's going to be 12, with node 2 being 5. And let's go up here. Let's go ahead and just go up to here. Let's add another one. It's going to be 5, and we'll make this 7 to make it nice. 7, and oh, other way, 0. Go ahead and go here. It's going to be negative 5. Let's just make this a mirror, basically. So it's going to be negative 12. So that's going to be our pathing for our particles. Although, actually, let's see, where is my candelabrum? I'm assuming it's you. Cool. So let's go ahead and drag this in. Do you have my fire particle effects? You do. How nice. So we're just going to drag this over to be negative, I'm sorry, not negative, just positive 12. Alright. And let's go ahead and, do I want to use the second one? No. Although I do like that one. But it was too complicated, which sucks. Oh well. Let's go ahead and come back over to here. We're going to put this one, oops, yep, back there. And we're going to say this one is unlit. And we're going to call this one lit. Okay. Let's go ahead and say this is at negative 12. We're going to disable this fire, and we're going to set up this model to use candelabrum unlit, like that. Okay, so basically we're going to have the fire transfer from one of these to the other. Let's see, so it's at negative 12. That's looking good. Here's our path. So we're just going to say fire path. We're going to go up to, let's see here. I really hate this, but we have to live with it, don't we? Yes, we do. So 3.25, I'm guessing. Yep. So 3.25, which means 3.25. Okay. So that's our path along this. And now, oh, that's interesting. You can toggle it visible or not visible. That's kind of nice. So we have our path, we have our candelabrum set up. Candelabra. Yeah, candelabra. Because candelabrum is the singular. We're going to go ahead and call this fire path, I guess. Let's hit save. And let's assign it. So here is our fire path. And here is the fire, which we are also going to switch to be simulation space world for all of these. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Okay. And we have our fire, ease in and out sign. Yeah, that's pretty much all we need. Let's go ahead and duplicate this timeline trigger. Okay. And we're just going to say play once. And it's going to start this. Shut that off real quick. Okay. And I think we'll be good there. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, okay, we do have an ease in and out sign. I don't know what that had to do with anything. Okay. Whatever. Let's go ahead and save and hit play. So when we trigger this timeline, we should see the fire leave the lit candelabrum, and fly over to the unlit one. Nice. Probably it needs to be a little bit more dense because it was not very interesting, but that is something at the very least, which is cool. Let's go ahead and stop this real quick. Let's work on some particle effect adjustments then. So we're going to go ahead and select our iTunes test. Let's go over to timeline. Timeline path clip. I probably should rename this to like move along iTween path clip. Or how about not gonna be play iTween path clip. I guess I'm kind of stuck with this. Before I forget anything else, I'm going to real quick go to pixel placement. Okay, I am going to, let me see if I can find it. I essentially want probably like this color. And I'm grabbing that because I want to figure out what my values are here. So it looks like I'm going to have fun doing a calculator for this. And by fun, I mean I'm just going to cheat and use Google Calculator. So this is 42. Let's see, that's 42 divided by 255. So that's 0.16. 0.16. Followed by 127 divided by 255, which seems 0.5-ish. It's pretty much 0.5. And then finally, I just like making the custom clips, or the tracks for custom assets roughly match a color that's associated with that. And iTween is kind of associated with this shade of blue. 185, which I'm guessing is something like 5.2. Oh, I was wow, 0.72. 0.72. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. Set that back to the white. Call save on this. And then we will let that compile. If we select our iTween test timeline, you will see that we now have a like blue tint to the left side of our iTween track. And all of the clips also have that blue tint. And that's just a way to help visually distinguish each individual track from other tracks. So you don't have to have a track color group on any of your custom timeline tracks. I typically do it so that at a glance I can easily tell what a track is, because you can rename these. They don't have to be called iTween track. They can be called whatever you want. So it's good to have color in there as just an extra level of identification between the tracks. In any case, so that's going to move us along a path, which is pretty good. Could we do, oops, an out sign is not what I, use an out sign, yeah. That's good enough. Okay, so let's work on particles. Specifically, we have a play particle system clip, and all it's doing, I'm assuming, is grabbing our particle system and then playing them. On graphs. Oh, that's on stop, yeah. Yep. Okay, well, we're gonna have to change that. Let's go ahead and change some of this real quick, because this should totally be that as well. So we have some minor adjustments there, and then we're going to want to create a folder under Sleepy Alisoft. Okay, so we're going to go to timeline, prefabs. Oh, this is probably for the timeline manager and such. And it's compiled. the best of times. Gotta wait for them to finish compiling your scripts. Thanks, Unity. There we go. Yeah, I thought so. Let's see here. So scripts, timeline director, tracks, materials. That's fine. Let's go ahead and delete that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just move particles up into there, I guess. It's only the one track so far. Oh man, what really sucks about that is if I do that, that is going to break any particle system that I have. Crud. Okay. It might be faster for me to start this from scratch anyway. Because let's see, is there anything that I would really want added to this? Exposed reference, particles. Not really, it's pretty much doing everything that I want. Ah! Why was this not in... I'm trying to think of where I have particles now. Yep, they're in that cutscene, that initial one. So I would rather not do that. All right, so it'll probably just be easier for me to do it this way. Let's go ahead and collapse all of this stuff. And we're gonna come up to here. We can collapse that. Don't have to worry about it for now. Let's add, create folder, particles, create folder core, make a new C# script. We're just going to call this SOS particle system track. Okay. Go ahead and open this up. Should it choose to do so. This is going to be part of our timeline namespace. We're going to be using Unity engine.timeline. It is going to derive from track asset. It's going to have a track color of white, I believe, for now, because I don't really know what else to really associate that with. Let's go ahead and say create folder, play particle system. Let's go ahead and say adjust. No. Oh, that sucks. I would like to be able to programmatically adjust my particle system, but I know that the particle systems in Unity are very locked down, and they are very aggressively against you changing any of that through scripting. I have no idea why, but they want you to do it all through animation, which sucks. So let's go ahead and get rid of adjust for now. I really want to just move those particle systems over, but I can't. So that's cool. And the main reason that I don't want to do that is because if I do move the particle system clips over to a new namespace, their tracks will just be completely busted. You won't even be able to see when they started and stopped. And that is the stupidest thing that I've ever seen, that you have no way of retrieving that data unless you just move the scripts back. It's dumb, 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 dumb. But it is the world that we live in, apparently. So, there are a couple of things that I can do here. One, I can, let's go ahead and go over here to particles. Do I not have one? Ooh, I do not. Cool. Well, that's going to be a thing. So let's create particle folder. I'm just going to make these particle system. Okay. Yeah, we'll just call it particles. create folder. I'm going to create a particle system manager. What do I want to call this? Not a particle system manager. How about call it particle manager? I'm going to go ahead and say create folder particle system root. I don't know why I made that a folder. I meant to make that a script. Oh, geez. So one thing I definitely know I want is particle subsystem. And the next thing I want is, I think, probably particle root system. So let's go ahead and make this. I don't know if this should be one word or two. We'll make it two. Create particle root system. We'll go ahead and say create. Do I want to make this an interface? I guess. Particle system. What a terrible way of doing this. But it's the best I can think of. I don't even know if I need to have a specific class for root versus subsystem. I've also typed system so much I feel like I'm spelling it wrong, which is never fun. Yeah, that's definitely how you spell it. I just got a little bit of semantic satiation going on. Okay. So, this is where things get a little messy. So we're going to go ahead and make a, it's fine to leave this in .common. We're going to say using coughing system.collections.generic. This is not going to derive from anything. It is going to be an interface. And that means we're going to just say public int ID get. Oh, right. I don't say public for interfaces. Then we are going to say no, I don't want a list of these. Okay. Okay. Then we're going to have to say particle system system get, and, or actually I'll probably call this particles. Okay, and that's probably all that needs to be. So this, I'm not going to need this quite yet. Let's go ahead and open up particle root system. Particle subsystem. So this is going to derive from mono behavior. I don't think we need to make it an SOS mono behavior, but I might as well. We're going to make this also derive from my particle system. And then we're going to go ahead and say using system.collections.generic. For this, we're going to go ahead and say private. In a weird way, I actually feel like this should derive from subsystem. So like this should be the thing. And then we're just going to go ahead and say Let's make this get set. Then we're going to say private particle system particles is equal to null, and then we're just going to say public int id get set. Pretty straightforward there. And then public particle system. What the? I spelled public wrong. Of course I did. Public particle system. Why can't I spell? Particle system. Particles. We're going to say get return particles question mark particles else particles are equal to get component particle system. Okay. So with that, we have a basic setup for managing subsystems of particle systems. Now, you might be wondering why I'm doing this when you can just activate or stop particle systems from their parent particle system. It's because when you call, so to give you a sense of this, let's go ahead and change this to derive from particle subsystem, because it technically does. So if I go ahead and say like public void play, really? Are you kidding me, Unity? You're killing me. Let's get rid of this. So if I did something like particles.play, you can just call play without parameters, or you can call it with a bool that says with children. And what that means is if you say true here, calling play will play all of the child systems of that particle system. But every time you do that, it has to go through all of its children, find the particle systems that exist below it, and then play them. Which means that it's going to call get component on every single object below it, and check to see if it has a particle system, do some validation, safety checks, and then call play on those. So that is less efficient than if we just cache those values when we first initialize the particle system, essentially. And there are ways that we can, probably will adjust our approach a little bit, but I think what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to let you manually cache all that stuff, as well as cache it at runtime if necessary. So let's go ahead and we're gonna leave that function in there for now. We'll probably get rid of it later. But we're gonna say private list particle subsystems is equal to new particle subsystem. Okay, let's see, what else do I want to do here? So the ID is unique, and do I want to make that visible? It probably wouldn't hurt to do so. So it'll give me a little bit more control over this, but at the same time, let me think. I would rather not. Because I could come up with a system that's similar to my sound manager system, where each particle system, probably the root system, would have a unique ID, but I don't know if I want that to be the case here. Well, one thing's for sure, these need to be protected, not private, if they're going to be derived, and then we're going to make this virtual, I suppose. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and come up here and we'll say private int id is equal to 0. We'll make that read-only. It will be something that can be... Oh, wait, not private. Should I make that public? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think. Let me think. What would be a good way to handle that? Well, for now, I suppose. I mean, I have to make it public or serialized if I'm going to do anything with it. So, I mean, it's never meant to change really, but at the same time, it needs to be a publicly accessible thing. I suppose that means this is going to change. No, 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 no. So this ID is meant to be a unique identifier within the within the particle system sort of parent chain. It's not meant to be an identifiable ID in the sense that an external thing would recognize it. So I guess, jeez, I guess that means that I would want to change this so that we have unique IDs under our parent system, and then we have a parent root system with a publicly unique ID as well. That is woof, a bit much. Hmm, hmm. We think there are a couple of ways that we can handle that. We can either do the sound manager approach, or we can do the collection approach, where we use collection IDs, which we can generate from CSVs. I think it would probably be best for me not to do that. I think it would be better for me to have a GUID that I essentially use here. So let's go ahead and say serialize. Actually, no, it's just going to be public. It's just because it's got to be public. Or, how about this? Private serialize field, and then I can come down here and say override ID. Nope, because that ID should always be 0 on the root. So, bah! That's sad. Let me think. Yeah, alright. So, yeah, we gotta change this a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and say protected int. I don't want to call it ID. But I really don't have a better way of doing that, so ID is equal to 0. We're going to need to have public void initialize with an int ID. We're just going to say this dot ID is equal to ID. We're going to change this. So we don't need get set anymore, I don't think. We can just make this get. And this is going to be get return ID. Okay, and we're going to come back to here. We're going to get rid of this set. And let's see here. So we can get rid of U. As the base, this should always just straight up return 0. So let's go ahead and comment that. Root. Nope, that is not true. Because I could potentially have particle subsystems that are root systems. No, that would be stupid. I wouldn't do that. Never mind. So yeah. So root systems should always have an ID of 0. Okay, so this has to change because it's now hiding this value. So this needs to be called like system ID or something. Or I could, I suppose, rename this. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. Come back here, and we're going to say, rename this to system ID. System ID. This is, okay, so we have the ID. I suppose I could rename this to system ID as well. Yeah, alright. So basically, this ID, the system ID, is a unique identifier below the root system. So each particle system would have its own unique integer, basically. Um, and for that, we're going to go ahead and say, say a couple of things. Serialized field, that's all fine. And we're also going to make these read only. Okay. And let's see here. So this is going to be renamed to system ID. Okay. And then I'm going to rename this to ID. We're going to keep it like that, essentially. And let's see here. I suppose, actually, that this is irrelevant. I don't need that, because I can probably just have the data contain that ID. So the root system shouldn't care about anything else. It should just care about its subsystems. Okay, so what we want to do here is we essentially want to say, we're going to come up to here. I'm going to say, do I want to make it public? Yeah, I'll make it public. So public void initialize, and it's going to be basically initialize this particle system and all of its subsystems. Okay. And for that, we're going to go ahead and say particle system, capital P, systems is equal to get components in children, particle system, particle system. Let's see, include inactive, we will say true to that. Okay, and so here's where it gets a little funky. That's not really going to be a thing, I guess. So I guess initialize is a bit of a misnomer. No, it's fine. So let's go ahead and grab our particle subsystem. Grab that. Before I forget, we're going to go up here and we're going to say require component type of particle system. Okay. And then I can say disallow multiple component so that you can only have one of these on there at any given time. And for this, we're just going to go ahead and say int index is equal to 1. And then we're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than subsystems, not that, systems dot length I plus plus. And then we're just going to go ahead and say if systems of I is equal to this, we'll just say systems of I dot initialize with 0, else systems of I dot initialize with index. And we're actually going to need to make this a multi-line thing. We're just going to go ahead and say index plus plus. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and we have some interesting things that we need to try here. I'm trying to think through how I want to really handle this system. It's going to be a little bit complicated to try and make it smoother on the front end. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to essentially come down to here, and we're going to say void play, not pay, play, and void stop. And let's see, that's probably all we really need for now. So we're going to come down to here. We're going to say, oh, look at that. I have two things calling initialize. Whoopsie. Oh, no, I don't. They're different. Okay. So this is going to be public void play. Why do you do that to me? Play. And we're just going to say particles dot play. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and say false so that it only affects the current ones. Then we're going to go ahead and say public void stop particles dot stop. I think that there is a stop behavior that you can pass. So this is going to be false, and then particle system stop emitting and clear. So we probably want to have both that or both of those options. Okay. Behavior. Let's go ahead and copy this real quick. Okay. And we're going to go back to here. We're going to have void stop with this. Okay. We're going to come back over to here. We're just going to say public void stop. Stop behavior. And then we're going to say particles dot stop false stop behavior. Okay. And with that, we're going to come up to here, and yep, we're going to get rid of you. And this is going to now be play bool with subsystems. And then, let's see here. We're going to say public void stop bool with subsystems. Okay, we are going to actually make this. Oh no, that's fine. And that's fine as well. And I guess that's fine too. Okay. So we're just going to do this. Come back in here, add our bools. Okay. And then all we're going to do here is say play. And then if with subsystems for int I equals 0, I is less than subsystems dot count I plus plus subsystems of I dot play. Oops. Play. Okay. And then we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing with stop. So we're going to call stop and stop. Same exact thing. We're going to call stop with stop behavior. Stop with that stop behavior. Pretty straightforward. Okay. So with this, we now have a rudimentary system for initializing a particle system and caching all of its subsystems, and then we'll be able to play that system. Let's see here. Is there anything else that I really want? It's kind of the expected behaviors for most things. Let's go ahead and try this. Particles dot. What are my other options here? String set particles. I guess we could have a clear. Oh, pause would probably be a thing. So pause is something. Is alive is something that we need, and I'm guessing clear. Emit seems pretty. Oh, nope, that's yeah, clear. Okay, so we need pause and clear still. So we're gonna go ahead and say void pause and void clear. Okay, let's go ahead and for this, we're gonna go ahead and say public void pause. Why do you make me suffer so? We're just going to say particles dot pause false public void clear particles dot clear false. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and move these over to here. And then we'll go ahead and add our bool with subsystems stuff. So we'll call pause, we'll call clear, and then we'll do the same thing down here, where we'll just call pause. All right. So that, I think, does the basics of what we want. Let's go ahead and I'm going to add a context menu to this. Context menu. Initialize subsystems. Okay. And I think that's pretty much all we care about. I suppose that initialize should probably call subsystems.clear as well, just so that we don't accidentally keep adding to it. And then we also need to add this. So then we're going to go ahead and say subsystems.add systems of I. Right there. Should be pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and let that all compile. Excuse me. Coughing. Why? Okay. So that is our subsystem stuff. But let's go ahead and say CPL common timeline. Let's go for a particle system track. All right, so let's go ahead and create a couple of scripts to handle playing these. So we're going to say playables, playable behavior. I'm just going to call this like play particle system. And I guess we're going to have to call it play iParticle system behavior. How about play particle root system? It's way too long of a thing. Create playables, playable asset, play particle root system clip. Okay, we got that. We got this. All right. So these are going to be timeline. Then timeline. Go ahead and grab this. Put this back here. set up. All right. So this is going to require a public particle root system. System is equal to null. We're going to say public bool with subsystems is equal to false. And that's pretty much it, actually. So let's go ahead and say if application dot is plain, we're just going to say system dot stop true. Okay, and let's go ahead and grab. So we want on behavior play and pause. We do not care about evaluate frame. So for this, we're just going to go ahead and say if application dot is plain. Then we can say actually, so particle system dot particles dot. Do I have a lifetime? Right. Nope. Because that's like under the stupid main module, isn't it? No, what is it? It's like main. Yep, which I cannot modify because why would you ever want to be able to modify this? So if you ever try to set that to like 0f, nope. Why do you do this to me, Unity? I wonder if you can just straight up make an inspector for a particle system.main module. I'm curious. Let's try that. Public particle system.main module. I want to see if I can do it. Main equal to new. I guess. Can I do that? Yeah. I just want to see what that looks like. Because it would be really cool if I can edit that without having to like make a custom inspector or anything. If I can just edit that stuff live, that would actually be pretty cool. Let's see if it's actually useful, but you never know. So the main reason that sucks is because you can no longer individually change values on particles via script. At least not in a straightforward way. There are ways around it that involve using reflection, but it's stupid. And the main reason for that, it looks like, is because they are now structs. So let's go ahead and add our particle system clip here. What? Also, no, you can't. It doesn't show up because, of course, it doesn't. Seriously? Like, you won't let me do it? That's interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and say track clip type of play root system clip. Okay, so yeah, so that's worthless. I bet it is serialized, assuming it will let me actually preview it. Cool. It might be buried too far. Let's see here. Oh, nice. So it's just contained inside of it because, of course, it is. I should have known that. Awesome. So it's just a public struct. Let's go up here. Let's yawn a little bit. And main. Yep, right there. Cool. I hate that they do. Oh, and it's cool. So I can't even actually modify it at all because it's straight up a getter, not even a setter. Awesome. Awesome. Yep. 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 All right. So that means animation is the only way to go there, which ridiculous. Why do I have to use animation for that? Because I can't have nice things. All right. So essentially what we want to do on play is we're going to come down here. Hello, Dusted. Welcome back. How are you doing today? And being a pain, yes, but it's expected. I'm just complaining about how you can't modify particle system values in code very easily. You either have to do it through animations for some very stupid reason, or you have to do a bunch of reflection to force it to basically be a value that you want, and that's terrible because reflection is obviously not as performant at runtime. But Unity just does not want you to edit these things via script for some reason. So what are you gonna do? You're doing okay. You say okay, but the ellipses that's a little unconvincing though. Anyway, so for this, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna say system.play, and then with subsystems passed in as well. On behavior pause, we're pretty much doing the exact same thing again. We're just going to do this. Okay. So pretty straightforward. Now the let me think. How do I want to do this? So I am thinking about how I want to handle this because there's a multitude of ways to do this. Okay, let's go ahead and let this compile real quick because I have some changes that I need to do. I had to think about it. Some good and also some bad. That's life, I suppose. Taking the good with the bad. Hopefully the bad isn't too bad for you. Let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a system similar to Sound Manager, where I'll have a particle manager situation. So let's go up to right here. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and say create C# script particle manager. Okay. And then we're going to have another class called particle subsystem data with a capital S to make it match. Okay, and I think the only other thing that I need there is a timeline script down here, which is going to go in core probably. So create C# script, and this is going to be resolve type. What a terrible name. I'm going to change that later, I'm sure. Nah, it'll be okay. That's good. Have you been doing? I've been doing all right. I have ASEN in about 3 weeks. So I'm currently crunching on a bunch of timeline stuff to get things up to visual polish to where I want. And then once that's done, I will hopefully be in a good place for the convention. And that will mean that I have the new combat system in, as well as a sort of revamped wizard cutscene for the castle, which I think those are the 2 weak points right now for the demo area. And then after that, I'm pretty sure I'll be done with the demo for quite some time. So we'll see if I can get that finished up. I am a notorious perfectionist, and also my schedule has not been very forgiving these past few weeks. So let's go ahead and open up subsystem data. We're going to make this not be timeline. It is not derived from anything. It's just going to be system.serializable. Then we're going to go ahead and say public int ID is equal to 0. Go ahead and make that read only, and then we're going to say public particle, what was it, particle subsystem, or I guess actually it would be particle root system, because that's what is going to be associated with this system is equal to null. Okay, and pretty much that's all I need. Let's get rid of this. We're going to come up to particle manager. It's going to be a scriptable object. No, this is going to be a mono behavior. Particle subsystem data collection, I guess, will be the thing that I want. I probably should have just called this like particle system data. All right, so this is going to be an SOS mono behavior, I suppose. And for now, I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to go ahead and let go. I'm going to add a new class that we're going to call particle subsystem. Capital S system data collection. Okay. The hoops I jumped through to just eke out a little bit more performance and also have some convenience in my workflow. Okay, so this is going to be a scriptable object. Create asset menu, file name is equal to that, and then menu name is equal to that. Let's go ahead and come back up to here. So this is going to be a particle collection. Let's go ahead and say SOS particles particle collection, I guess. All right. We're going to go ahead and say public list, which is not going to work yet, using system.collections.generic. That's going to be a list of particle subsystem data. We're going to say systems is equal to new, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to say public particle root system, I guess. If I can spell public, but I can't. Particle root system get system int ID. And then we're going to return no. There. We're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than systems dot count. Why can't I spell today? Systems dot count I plus plus da, 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 da. And then we're just going to say if systems of I dot ID is equal to ID, return systems of I dot system. Okay. So that is pretty straightforward. This is also pretty straightforward. Particle manager. Particle manager is just going to have a, I guess, an array. So we're just going to say serialize field. I'll make it a list. Yeah, it needs to be a list. So we're going to say private list, which again will not work right now. We're going to say using system.collections.generic. A list of particle subsystem subsystem data collections. So we'll say collections is equal to new, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And for this, oh boy, gonna be fun. Let's go ahead and we will. It's pretty much going to be the same thing as our sound manager. So we're going to say public void play particles int ID followed by transform position and then bool parent. Okay. And I guess that's actually going to give us a particle root system. So for that, we're going to say return null at the very end. Gotta stretch. Gotta stretch. Gotta stretch. Gotta stretch. Hmm. Sorry, I gotta message someone real quick. So let's go ahead and go through this. So we're just gonna say 4 into I equals 0. I is, wow, seriously. I equals 0. I can't type today. I don't know what's up with me. Collections dot count I plus plus. We're just gonna say oof. Oof. Okay. Yeah, that's not great. I guess I could check if it has a system. So we're going to go ahead and say public bool has system into ID. It's pretty much going to be the same thing. So false, return true. Okay. So we're going to say if collections of I dot has system ID will return collections of I dot get system of I. Pretty straightforward there. Okay, and that is actually not correct. That's not what I want to do. So what I really want to do is say particle root system is equal to null. We're going to say system is equal to this, and then we're going to break out of that. Okay, and then we're going to say system dot play. We're not going to do anything quite yet. Actually, we'll probably just go ahead and call true on that. And then we are going to go ahead and say, what else do I need to do? Oh, and then we'll return system. Oh, and yeah, we're going to say, nope, that's still not correct. Because then we need to say private list particle root system. Systems is equal to new. So that's the list of spawn systems, which means that we are now going to say system is equal to pool manager dot request system, and the parent is going to be position. And can I? Yeah, okay. So I have to do this. I'm going to say if parent, just going to be that pretty much, else, and then we're going to say if system does not equal null, because we only want to do all this stuff if it's not null. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say system is equal to pool manager request system position, and otherwise we're going to say system is equal to pool manager dot request system and position dot position with position dot local rotation, I guess. I guess it wouldn't be local rotation though, it would just be rotation. Okay. Pretty straightforward there. So that should spawn our system and play it, which will then be returned. Okay. So I think that will do what we want. And then we also need to go ahead and do this. So we're going to need to call public void clear null references. Okay. And we're just going to do for int I is equal to systems dot count minus 1. I is greater than or equal to 0. I minus minus. Okay. And then we're just going to say if systems of I is equal to null, systems dot remove at I. Okay. That way we automatically clear all that out. To do that properly, we are going to need to private void start. We're going to want to say, oh man, I think it's, let's see, Unity engine dot scene management dot scene manager dot scene loaded. Or how about on active change, active scene change? That's all I really care about. What are my events? Scene unloaded, scene loaded. I suppose scene unloaded would be the thing that I want. We're just going to say plus equals that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. We're going to come back up to here. This is just going to automatically check this for us. So let's go ahead and rename this. And we're just going to say on scene unloaded. We're going to come up to here and we're just going to say using Unity engine dot scene. Oops. Come on, scene management. There we go. That way we can get rid of these and get rid of this. Okay. And this is just going to be the scene. And then I can change this to call clear null references. This is just a safety check because when you transition scenes, it's possible that things won't be cleaned up properly in the sense that they might be parented or positioned to a particular object. So we want to make sure that we can just clear out those null references that would be resulted from them being deleted. Okay. So that calls play particles, that calls clear null references on scene loaded. That's all good. The only thing I can really think of that's left is stop particles. Really, that's about it. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and say public void stop particles int id, and we'll say bool stop all is equal to false. So this is just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than ID, I is less than systems dot count I plus plus. We're just going to say if systems of I dot ID, oh, right. Shoot. Let me think. It's not quite as simple as a generic container now, is it? No, it is not. It is not. So that would mean I would have to have some way of associating them, which is fine. It just means that I also need to change this to probably particle system data. So particle system data. I guess I called it particle subsystem data, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. Shoot, that means that I need to change this around. So instead of this is equal to null, we need to say this dot system is equal to null. Come back over to here. We're going to say public particle subsystem data. Just going to be that. Is equal to 0. Then public particle subsystem data. Int ID and then particle root system, I guess. it's just going to say this.id is equal to id, this.system is equal to system. Okay. We're going to come back to here. And we're going to go ahead and say systems.id is equal to id. If that is the case, then we're going to do this thing. Okay, we're all good here. And when we parent it, that's all good. We're going to call system.play, and then we're going to go ahead and say systems.add new this, and then we're going to say id and system. Okay, so that should keep track of all of them pretty well. Then we can go ahead and say remove at. That's all good. And same thing here. We can simply say, let me think how I want to handle this. We're going to say systems of i.system.stop, which I would assume to be true for everything. And then we'll go ahead and say, oof, oof. Yep. Crap. Yeah. All right. Fine. We'll just do it that way. So I was having a little bit of an annoyance because I was trying to figure out what hold on. Sorry, I gotta message someone again. Yeah, so I was trying to figure out how I was going to handle stopping individual ones versus multiple ones that are all playing the same one. But there's no good way of doing that anyway. So I might have overcomplicated this. Because essentially what I'm trying to do here is play particle systems like sounds. In the sense that I can give them a generic ID from an editor and it'll just like spawn the particle effect for me. So particle subsystem data collection. Probably what I should do here is particle system root system. This I don't. Jeez. Yeah, we've got problems here. Is actually timeout. No, I hate it when it does that. Actually, here we'll do particle. Close all of the editors that I don't need to worry about. Wow, Sector, yeah, really got a lot. I probably can delete all of those demos. See, particle. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I kind of have a system for this in place. No, this is for actor. Whew. Okay, but everything else. Okay. Whew. Particle system, troll animated fire effect. Okay, so no, fire effect sort of had some of this situation in it. this up. Yeah, okay. Whew. Never mind. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't like duplicating my efforts here. Whew. Okay. Oh man, trying to make this system interesting, or not interesting, less complicated. Right. So I could add events to the particle root system to fire when the system starts and ends, but is there a point to me doing that, really? I mean, yes, in the sense that Particle Manager would be able to automatically clean it up. So, fine. Let's go ahead and do that, I guess. Let's go to Particle Root System. Now we're going to come up here and we're just going to say public system.action on play is equal to delegate. Let's see. So we would want one for on play, on stop, maybe one for on pause? Question mark. Hmm. Sorry. I'm bad at texting and doing the stream at the same time, but the texting is time sensitive, I think. So, so let's do, yeah, we'll do, oh geez, play, pause, stop, and, oh man, that means we have to have like a resume. No, jeez. Hold on. So we're gonna go ahead and say particles. Stop it. Particles dot play. What are my options here? Okay. How about dot pause? That is super awkward because play does not necessarily mean it's from the start, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Gross. Okay, so this is gonna be on pause. On stop, I guess. And I feel like on pause. No, let's do it. We'll just do on play and on stop. That's all I really care about. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and let's peek this definition. We'll make these virtual because I need to. Virtual, 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 virtual. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to overwrite them, but virtual. It's good to make them virtual. So we're gonna go up to here. We're gonna go ahead and say override play, and then we're just gonna say on play dot invoke. Okay, and then we're gonna come down to here. These all just call that. We're gonna call override stop, and then we're just gonna call. No, actually, we'll do this. On stop dot invoke. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay. And let's see here. Um, hmm. Let's see. So we call our events. Let's go over here to Particle Manager and oh man, that's going to really complicate things. So let's go over to here. We have our system. Stop particles. Yeah, so we got to reverse this. We're basically going to be doing this for loop. Let's go ahead and go back to here. And let's see. Okay, so if we stop the particles, we need to remove them at the same time. So we'll have to say systems of I dot. Actually, no, it'll handle it by itself. So we can just do that. Because when we come up to here, we're going to go ahead and come down to here and say private void on particle stopped. And it's going to be a particle root system particles. So on particle stopped. We're going to come up to here. When we call this, we're going to say system.onStop plus equals delegate, and then we're just going to say on particle stopped. This is just going to be system, I guess. Pass that in. Oh, wrong thing. No, that's right. We're going to do that. And then down here, on particle stopped, we do return that system. Okay. So on particles stopped, we're going to go ahead and say particles dot oof. Okay. Yep. Cool. Well, I suppose that's for the best. So system.action delegates are faster, but the Unity ones do allow me to more easily remove them. I suppose I could say on stop and on play would be the particle root system as an argument. Yeah, okay. So let's just go ahead and do this. And that's going to invoke passing this as the argument, passing this as the argument. We're going to come back down to here, and we're going to get rid of this. We're just going to do that. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and say particles dot on stop minus equals on particle stopped. And then we get to go through the fun thing of removing these particles. So we're going to, oh, man, that doesn't help me because the IDs again, it can't find itself. Gross. Okay, which means that I need to do this. Let's see. Do I want to do it here, I guess? We're going to go ahead and say private void. Yeah, I'm not super worried about performance. It's just one of those things that if I can avoid it, I might as well. Because the only reason that I ever really try to use Unity events is if I want to make it nice for tooling purposes. Like it's not going to be me; it might be someone who's not a programmer using it. But these are all scripts meant for me to use. Um, so I'm not really too concerned with that. And if doing the non-user-friendly way is fine for me and it is more performant, then I'm just going to do that, or I'm going to prefer that anyway. So let's go ahead and say private void remove. I guess we can. I don't want to make that public. Private void remove particles. Gross. No, we'll just do it like this. Okay, so we're just going to say for int I equals 0. to do it the other way. So we're going to do it this way. So we're going to say if system.system is equal to particles. We're going to do that, and then we're going to call break. Break. Okay. That should. But yeah, no, I mean that's generally a good policy. Is if it's not going to fire every frame, performance can be a little less strictly stuck to, or you can be a little bit more loose with how strict you are there. But let's see, on particles stopped. Okay, so all that's set up now. All that's being recycled. Okay. Okay. On scene unloaded. So I've got to write a sort of window manager thing, and windows are going to need to be informed about their depth by the manager. Is that wrong? You mean like in? Are you talking about windows as in the generic sense, like a menu in Unity, or do you mean window as in like a thing in Windows? Um, so how I handle that in Unity is actually I can show you real quick. Let's see here, resources. So I have a UI object, and it keeps track of all of the views that it needs to use. And what that does is each view has this order to it. So you can manually specify the order. And as you can see by the tooltip there, it basically determines the order of those menus in their sibling order underneath the UI. So by doing it that way, it means that if you have an order of 5 here, that's going to try to make it like the 5th sibling, or at the very least move down to where other 5 ordered menus are. And that means that it will always draw on top of menus that are, ordered 1, 2, 3, and 4, or negative values. But it will always draw below 6, 7, 8 onto infinity, basically. That's the way that I handled that in terms of UI depth. Does that seem to fit with what you're trying to do? Or are you trying to do it all exclusively controlled by the manager? Because you could, in theory, do that. It would basically just moving this order value from the individual menu to the UI. You would just have like a number here to the left of it. Because draw order is forced based on their index in the hierarchy. So things below other objects will always draw on top of them. That's how that works. That's how they chose to interpret their canvas system. Okay, so we have lost my train of thought. Let's see here. All right. So I think this is going to properly manage everything now. At least I'm pretty sure anyway. We're going to call particles stopped. That's all good. Cool. So let's go ahead and now I'm going to need to, make that. So let's go ahead and come down here. We're going to say create SOS particles, particle collection out of curiosity. Okay, good. Particle collection, and make sure I don't do anything here. Build scenes, woods, data, custom game collection, combat, audio. Okay, good. Particles, particle collection. And here is where things get a little wonky. I'm going to need to go to my editor script. Let's see, particles, wrong thing, particles, that's what I want. But I need to go down to editor, and then particles. Create folder, particles. Okay. Let's see, where are we? So particles, particle manager. manager, and the custom class is going to be particle subsystem data collection editor. Oof. You know what? Nuts to that. I'm going to completely rename this. I'm just going to call this particle data, because that is a much more sensible term. Let's make sure I don't have that already. Particle data. Cool, I don't. Good. So we're going to go ahead and rename this to particle data. Okay. We're going to rename this to particle data collection. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close these. So particle data. I know you're not going to be very happy with me. But that is a much shorter name than particle subsystem data collection, which is too long of a name. It's for a menu system in an ASCII terminal style thing I'm working on. So what exactly are you trying to do? Are you just wanting the manager for your depths or for your windows to... Oh, okay. So when you say windows, are you talking about like a traditional browser interface in the sense that you would have like... because I gotta wait for that to compile anyway. I've waited too long to create a new script. So something like this, where you would like minimize this and then add a new tab and have it over here. So you'd have these two tabs like this kind of going on where they're both open at the same time, and you can, maybe you might not necessarily have them be draggable, but like basically like that as a concept. Is that what you're going for? Okay, we'll give that a second. Okay. I mean, in that case, then you could totally still cheat. You would just have, well, it depends on how you want to handle it, but you would have probably the manager for your windows listen for an on-click event or something to be fired on any one of those windows, and when that happens, it would just pop that window to the top of the draw order queue. So you would just basically move it to be the last sibling. So you would essentially do something like, oh, right, you're gonna, wait, what? Oh, it's because you didn't compile yet, right. You would essentially do something like this, where you would say transform.set as last sibling on the object that was, or on the window that was clicked on. So that would force it to be the bottom of the queue or the bottom of the hierarchy, which means it would be drawing on top of everything else. So that would probably be the best way to handle that, and it wouldn't be too bad performance-wise. Let's see here. So now that we have that, so we're going to make particle data collection editor. That's a little bit better. Particle data collection editor. Okay, we're going to open that up. It's going to totally recompile my project, I'm guessing. All right. Are you still... What? Particle data collection, it's right there. You little scamp, you're just not compiling. How fun. Okay, well, we'll let it go for now. So this is going to be an editor. I know it's not going to work yet, so we're going to say using Unity editor. And then we're going to say using sleepyowl.common and common editor. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to run over to sound collection. I think. Sound collection inspector, because that's how old this is. Okay. Let's see. Stop all clips. We want this, which is going to draw our drop areas, which is largely what I want, because I want to have a similar interface to this. So we're going to come back here, put that in there. This is where things do get kind of interesting. So we're going to need to say using system.collections.generic. Yes, you're going to get wonky with this. So this is going to be an audio clip anymore. It's going to be a particle system. Oh man, this is going to suck when I have to update the system 2018 at some point. Oh man, this is going to suck because I think I have a similar system to this at work that I came up with, and that means I'm going to have to change that prefab workflow too. Okay, so these are going to be particle system. Okay, drop areas. We only have the one actually, which is nice. So let's see here. Default interactive. None of these are necessary. Cool. Don't have to worry about it. So we're going to change this. We don't have to worry about our drop areas, I don't think. Contains mouse point event. So drop area index, which we do not care about. Okay. So we don't need to worry about that. We just need to say, let's see, current events type. It's always fun reverse engineering the logic for the generic menu stuff because it gets super weird. Yeah, it just sucks because like 2018.3 drastically complicated prefab workflows. So in order to make changes through code, you can no longer just directly add and remove components or add game objects or transforms or whatever. You now have to like open the prefab staging area, make all the edits to the new prefab handle, and then apply those changes, save it out, and then close the prefab staging area. And that's all done via code, so it doesn't show up to the user, but it's like 4 times as long as it used to be to do all that stuff, which kind of sucks. Are you a game developer at work as well? Yes, I work at a small educational games company in town, so I don't get a chance to experiment too much with tooling in terms of Unity stuff, but I do take any excuse at the office to kind of dig more into Unity and how it does things. So like I figured out the prefab workflow for updating prefabs via script pretty shortly after we actually updated to using a project in 2018.3, but we were behind. I think we just updated one of our projects to 2018.3 around like January. We have not been up to date, and that's not because we're avoiding them necessarily. It's just because we've not had a good chance to really go through and update a lot of our projects. Anywho, so I'm going to make this. Let's see here. Go ahead and say private particle data collection. Are you serious? You're just not going to. It's going to be a whole thing. Collection is equal to null. It is going to be a whole thing until I freaking fix this. But at the very least, I can try to get this set up. So drop areas of eyes, layout, expand width, true. Let's see. Drop areas. Where are we actually telling you to go? Let's see. Drag. So I'm just going to do this. Particle systems here. Let's see here. Color dot white. It's all good. Expand width. I would kind of think that we would want this to be more like this. Okay, and also I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And we can get rid of this now. paste that in. We do not care about this really. We can just straight up make this a rect. And that means that we're just going to make this rect. Drop area is equal to new rect, which is actually going to be this. So we're going to say editor GUI layout dot get control rect, and we'll give it a GUI layout option of, oops, sorry, GUI layout dot height of 35F. I think that's all I really want. GUI color is just going to be color.green for now. Drop area of I, we don't need that at all anymore, so we can just call that drop area. I think we're good. And then we don't need this drop area index anymore. We can just say, yeah, that's going to be complicated, so this is going to be drag. Let's see. I don't think I need this at all. Let's see, is drop valid? Drop area index is greater than or equal to. Oh, here we can just say drop area. Oops, drop area dot contains, and then current event dot mouse position. So we're going to make sure that our mouse is inside that rect. So we can get rid of U, and our drag clip count is greater than 0. And then for this, I'm just going to comment that out for now. Okay. So I have to create a script in here to basically force it to compile. Yeah, I know you're gonna throw problems. Okay, let's see. That's pretty cool. I do some JS games at work for some stuff, but it's kind of slowed down, so I'm mostly doing Alexa web work now. Yeah, I mean we don't always get to do like what you would consider classical game stuff. Like it's not like putt putt or anything. I mean putt putt is in like mini golf. I mean putt putt is in like the old educational games. But we get some opportunities to mess around with some cool stuff. But more often than not, our projects are quite infuriating, just because we're working with academia, and academics are not the best when it comes to working in a field that they don't fully understand, because they assume they understand everything, and it can be a bit frustrating sometimes. Not all the time. Some of them are actually pretty nice to work with, but other ones can be pretty overbearing and do not have the best ideas sometimes in regards to gameplay. Their educational content might be okay, but the way they go about teaching it is questionable. Cool. So yeah, you're gonna be a thing. Oh, right, that's the thing. In any case, I think so. I'm probably going to sign off here soon. I need to message a few people to get some plans taken care of, and they are somewhat time sensitive, so I have to kind of do that. But we do have a particle system, well, a particle management system in place, kind of. It's not finished. I will finish that up tonight. I'll probably be posting about that on the Discord to show everyone kind of a nice automated way that I've come up with for playing particle systems without having to pull in the particle systems and put them underneath an object. I can instead just have an int ID that gets referenced, and it'll spawn them in just like the sound manager does, basically. Okay, so let's see. Does this now show up? Yeah, there it is. It just needed to recompile because that's what it does sometimes. Yeah, so I'll continue working on this, and I'll get some screenshots posted up in the Discord later to show progress. And the goal here is basically just to have a nice way where I can say, like, play this particle system and play it here. And then once it gets to the end, say, like, recycle this particle system. We're done. Okay, so that is a pretty good place to stop for the day, I think. I am hoping to have a lot of my cutscene work, if not done, at least like roughly laid out by the end of this coming week. and that will give me, like a week to polish up and make a build, and then an extra week for a buffer. So I'm not making builds, up to the night before, which is what I've done in the past, and I'm trying to stop that now. I'm trying to have a much more stable code approach for conventions instead of making edits pretty much until the night before, or sometimes the day of. So let's see, announcements. I should be good to stream this coming week, so I should be good Tuesday and Thursday. I'm pretty sure I don't have an Unreal Dev meetup or anything like that. I will double check that. Thursday might be a little iffy, but we should be good. And then, as a general heads up, again, I'm going to be at Anime Central up in near Chicago on the 17th of May through the 20th. So I'm not going to be doing my Devstream that Thursday or that Saturday. That's about 3 weeks out though, so I'll remind everyone again once we get closer to that. But I think that's all the announcements that I have. So let us know that pain a bit. Most all my work is client work with media companies. Yeah, it can. Yeah, client work always sucks. It's always the worst. But it's what pays the bills. So anyway, so I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the day. So as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.